Welcome to the Board Game Barbecue podcast, brought to you by Advent Games and our awesome Patreons. My name is Adrian and I will be your host tonight. I am joined by two awesome people. One who has now joined the same club as Mitch, as having more hair on the bottom of his head than the top of his head, and that is Jules. How you doing, Jules?
Good. I thought that was going a really different direction for a second.
I almost fumbled that in a really bad way. But we'll proceed. But yeah, you joined the skinheads. Look at you go.
Man. It feels really good.
Bald. Very shiny. Well played. Looks great.
I can't wait to just have all these bald jokes.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to rub it.
And that too.
Okay, cool. And also joined tonight, obviously, by Dana, our ex-under-17s Brisbane tennis champion, who might be self-described as hot stuff, as it says on her water bottle behind her. Right, Dana?
Are you talking about?
Look, yeah, she's looking behind herself like, what are you talking about? Yeah,
that is so funny. That is so funny. You think, like, everybody listening will think it's actually a water bottle for water. It's actually a hot water bottle for my back.
Don't have a wheat pack. Is it a wheat pack that they use?
Yeah, they do use wheat.
Yeah.
I used one of those today for the first time because we are part of the Bad Back Clubs United.
Yeah. We're all falling apart.
So yeah, how's life, Dana? What's been going on?
Good. Saw you and MJ and Finn today. Your son Finn, which was lovely. I'm actually going to be looking after your dogs for a couple of weeks. So
wow.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, it was a great morning, actually. Great weather and everything. And Finn's there in the tennis court. And I think you lost 3 balls over your fence and one in your neighbour's gutter on the rooftop.
Yes.
He's never used a baseball bat before. And he's like, is this a cricket bat? Is this a baseball bat? And I was like, it's a baseball bat. And he just threw the ball up in the air. First swing, bang, straight into the gutter on the second story of the neighbour's roof, like instantly. I was like, he was there. He looked at me as if to say, I know I'm in trouble. I don't know how Dad's going to react to this. He can laugh it off, or he might make me climb on that roof. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was great. It was lovely to just hang out and sit in the sun and watch the dogs running around and Finn smacking balls about most of the morning. So,
yeah.
And yourself, Jules, how you been? What's been going on?
Oh, man, I've been playing a lot of brand new games, which I feel like I haven't been able to do for a while, which, you know, I enjoy playing some well-beloved games over and over again, but I feel like it's just been a while since I've tried a bunch of new stuff, and all the games I'm talking about today are all brand new. In fact, some of them unreleased, so that's pretty exciting.
It's exciting.
Fancy
pants.
Yeah.
I don't have anything comes
like
out.
Yeah. I made a purchase of a game that I said I wasn't going to buy.
Oh.
And it's in my top 10. And that was Horseless Carriage, because
yes, you did.
It's 3-player, and I knew I was never going to get to the table regularly enough to pay that kind of price bracket for it. But it came up secondhand on the marketplace at a great price. So I was like, why not? I have to have it. I really have to have it. It was my favorite game from last year, and it's in my top 10 for a reason, because it is a phenomenal game. And I do want to get it to the table more. I really do want to play it more and get more in depth into strategies of it and get some real enjoyment out of it. So yeah, I was very blessed to be the first lucky person to say, me, I want to buy it. PM, I PM'd you, like a PM'd you, come on, like, let's go. And yeah, I managed to pick it up in Brisbane, and yeah, it's great. I'm really excited to play it again. So have you played it? Have you played it, Dan or Jules?
No, I haven't
not
played
yet.
it.
I want to.
I haven't played it. Yeah, I'd like to play it as well.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's so good. I love it, but
I've not played any Splotter games at all. So,
okay.
Yeah, so I'd be keen to give one a try.
I wouldn't start with that one as a first experience, because it's so brutal and it's so hard. It's got like, I think it's 1,086 pieces or something ridiculous like that. It's a lot of bits.
Yeah, the easiest Splotter game to get into is Bus, for sure.
But probably one of the hardest ones to buy.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a reprint.
I saw that. I saw the pre-orders, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I'd probably pick that up as well. It is great.
Phenomenal
such
game.
a easy game, and a game where it's got like a pamphlet, not even a rule book from memory. It's like
exactly. It's just a fold out sheet for the rules.
Yeah,
that's my kind of game.
Yeah, it's great. You'd love it. So Jules, do you want to tell us one of these fancy pants games that are not currently out that you've been playing recently?
Sure thing. So the first one I'll talk about is an abstract game called Umbrella. So this one's published by Pandasaurus Games, and it has fantastic Vincent Dutrait artwork. Looks really, really cool. And it's an abstract game that feels like, those puzzles with like a 3x3 grid, and it's got one square missing, and you have to shuffle all the pieces around to create the picture. It feels like one of those sorts of games. And I just found it really, really clever. So in Umbrellas, what you're trying to do is form different patterns. So you'll have a board that's actually a 4x4 grid with all these umbrella tokens on them of various colors. And above that, you'll have a couple of pieces of cardboard that have some patterns on them, but they don't denote any colors. They're all grayed out. Let's say, for example, it's the second row down, and then there's 3 dots in a row from left to right. What it's asking you to do is have 3 umbrellas of the same color in those exact spots on your grid. And when you do, you pass that token over to the next person, and it's a circular, not even an economy. It's just all the pieces move circularly in the game. And whatever color you chose to fulfill that pattern, you have a little scoring track where you put markers and you cover them. So, for example, if I'd lined up 3 green umbrellas, I'd have to put a token and cover one of the green markers on my scoring track. And it means as the game goes on and you start covering up colors, you get more limitations about which umbrella colors you can use to form these patterns. But how you're moving the umbrellas is you'll pick a extra umbrella token either from the middle, from a supply that's at the bottom of your board, but there's also waiting zones to the left and the right of you. So if I was to pick an umbrella token from the left-hand side, I have to insert it into the left-hand side of my grid, taking out the one it's going to push across, and you slide them all over. And then that one that's pushed out gets pushed the direction that it came out, so I'd put it on the waiting zone on my right. And so it's kind of like you're using all the pieces amongst everyone as they move circularly around the board, but even up and down. So taking from the middle means it has to come from the top, and it pushes it down to your waiting zone below your player board. I just found it a really satisfying puzzle, very, very clever, and it has lots of different scoring tracks to up the complexity of the game a little bit. I played on the basic one, but then had a read of the different scoring conditions that you have on different scoring tracks. But yeah, it was really easy to pick up. I just learnt it straight from the rule book in 10 minutes, and it was just really, really enjoyable, very pretty on the table, and I would happily play it again. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It had a fantastic tension, and it can end in a couple of ways. If someone gets rid of all of the pattern tokens at the top of their board, that will trigger the end of the game. So you can have this situation where you're completing patterns and you're passing them to the person to your left or your right, whichever direction you've decided to go in the game. But if someone's not completing them, you're not getting any new ones. And it means you have also less options because you've got less patterns to choose, like that are available on your board to actually form. And if you're getting given more, then you've got more options to shift and change and to get rid of those pieces. I really, really enjoyed it. I think it was very clever. It's very simple to learn, and yeah, had a good time. If abstract games are your thing, I think this is a good thing to have a look at.
Is this good at 2 players, do you think?
I think it would be. Yeah, I think it would be really cool because you're very much doing your own thing. There is a little bit of interaction in that with the waiting zones that multiple people can grab from, whether it's the middle or the left and right. You can start to see what colors your opponent is trying to line up and take those colors from those waiting zones and take those options away from them. And then they have to maybe do some other stuff, maybe instead of having the right color to just insert and they form a pattern, well, they've got to do a couple of moves to push one out of their umbrella zone, and then they'll get to insert it into the place they want to with a couple of moves. So I can see 2-player being a little bit more cutthroat, especially it's easy to track once you start to see them cover up the colors on their scoring track. You go, right, well, they can't do blue anymore, so blue's useless to them. Well, I'm just going to keep feeding blue umbrellas, and it's not going to do them any good whatsoever. They're not going to want to grab them. So, yeah, I thought it was really clever, but it's definitely a game where you're trying to figure out how can I get this pattern formed in the least amount of moves as efficiently as possible to try and churn through them and get the points. So, yeah.
Did anybody feel the need to sing the Rihanna song Umbrella? Or did that ever come in your head at any point ever?
No, it didn't.
As soon as you said Umbrella, I was like, Ella, hey, I couldn't get it out of my head.
Well, now that you've said it, I don't want to play the game anymore.
That is so funny because this just shows how different we are in age. Because I was thinking about Singing in the Rain.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I knew it was coming.
I'm thinking about Gene Kelly.
Well, actually, that's a funny thing because we were watching that. This is a complete sidebar, but have you seen that Limp Sync special with Tom Holland on it? Where he sings that song?
Oh, my
God.
God.
What a mover. Oh, my God. Amazing. One of the best things I've ever seen.
He's got a dancing background. Oh, my God. He is really good.
Yeah. Definitely worth watching, Jules. He does that Singing in the Rain thing. Anyone else, just YouTube Tom Holland lip sync and watch the video. It's phenomenal. It's brilliant. So...
Yeah, well, I'd say Singing in the Rain is more closely to sort of what the vibe they've gone for with the game is, because it's very much sort of top-down looking at umbrellas and the street's wet, like it's raining and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah,
that sounds great. So that's Umbrella. I'll give it a look at.
Yeah.
And what about yourself, Dana? What have you been up to games-wise? I heard you try to play Nucleum the other day.
I did.
What do you think so far?
I did enjoy it, but I must admit, look, it really took me the whole game to sort of have to get a grasp of what to do and how to play it. So we have scheduled a game in 5 days' time to replay it again. The three of us, it was 3-player, and to play it again. And we did get several rules wrong and things like that, but we don't care about that stuff.
It's there's a lot of rules set to that game, and there's a lot of rules set that kind of feels counterintuitive because lots of other games do a different way of connections and things like that. So you feel confident the fact that you're like, oh yeah, this makes sense. And you're like, actually, it's got not the same rule set as Brass Birmingham and other games, but yeah, it's a great game. It's really worth giving it another go for sure.
I was a bit disappointed in this is just a functional thing to me, but there's some like where you've got I think they call technology tiles on the side. They sort of slot into the cardboard sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I could already feel that they were starting to wear a little bit.
I know what you mean.
It was a bit of a poor choice. But yes, other than that, it was very enjoyable and I'm looking forward to playing it. And I lost by quite a bit.
Oh.
As usual.
Well, I've played Nucleum once and I won, so I won't play it again.
Oh, that's it. That's it.
Completed it.
You're the champ.
Yeah.
And it was against Def.
Oh, my God, you cannot play that again. You mustn't.
That's it.
But I have been playing Furnace Interbellum. So this is the expansion to Furnace. This is Shelf of Shame. It's been on my shelf, well, ever since it came out. Anyway, finally got a chance to play it. And I must say I think it's a cracking expansion, actually. So for those of you who don't know, Furnace is like an engine building game. There's 2 phases. There's a bidding phase where you've got a line of cards or a market of cards, and you're placing these 4 coloured discs on and you're bidding on these cards, or if you don't win the card, you get compensated for losing. And then in the production phase, everybody just does their own thing and activates their little engine. And I think it's four rounds. It's 4 rounds, and whoever has the most money wins. And it's really just resource conversion to money. But it's a very, very smooth game in my opinion. And Interbellum is great. And actually, it's a modular expansion, but we actually added all the modules in all at once. I wouldn't do that if I were playing that game for the first time. I wouldn't do that. I would just play the base game. But I think if you know the game, I think you could add everything in and it would be fine. But so it adds a 5th player, which is always welcome because we very rarely have just 4. There's always got that extra person and it's so limiting. So I'm glad we added the extra player, and it really doesn't affect the length of the game greatly at all because the second phase of the game is simultaneous. So it really doesn't change anything. It also adds, one of the things that I really liked about it, it adds an additional bidding disc. But this disc is a bit like a health dial that you would get in a boss battler game or something like that. But you can use that as an additional disc, but you just have to pay coal for it. So, and it goes all the way up to 9. And I believe you can actually go even over 9 as long as you pay coal. I don't know if you've ever experienced this in the base game. Often you were left with 15 coal that you couldn't do anything with.
Yeah,
so it's actually really, really good. So everybody gets one of these rotating little discs. They're like little health dolls anyway that you can use to pay coal. So I really like that. It's also got new starting cards and player powers. They're called capitalist cards, so it brings more of those in. It brings more cards into the market, and as well, if you did play the base game, it was quite profitable if you could get rid of the oil barrels. That's one of the resources in the game, but you could never get rid of them because there just weren't the cards to do it. So it's a little bit easier to sort of get those moving and converting those into money. And also some of the cards have just a permanent ability on them that will allow you just to keep doing something if you win the card. There's a whole nother section. They're called manager tokens, and there's basically 3 cards, and then it's got these little rectangular tokens that get refreshed each round. There's 3 tokens, and you're bidding on either the card for compensation. The cards just stay there, and the compensation's quite juicy, or you're bidding on these manager tokens. And as I said, these tokens, you can then use them and add it to a card. These tokens might say you can do 1 conversion on this card for free. So while you're running your engine, you can just add that token to the card and use it. And then on the next round, you could put it on a different card. Yeah.
Cool.
So these tokens are really interesting, and it just gives you something else to bid on. On top of that, you can also play it solo now, which is fantastic. It makes the 2-player a little bit juicier as well. So it's a really good expansion.
It's the reason why I didn't get it, because the 2-player version, I don't even know if it existed. Was it only 3-player? Did it start at 3, the original?
I think it was, yeah.
I can't remember.
Oh,
I remember.
No. You can play it at 2.
2-player. I think I was just put off because it wasn't that interesting. When you have to bidding between 2 people, it's very meh, whatever. Yeah. But I feel that, something like that would be great. But is it on BGA? Is Furnace on BGA?
I think it is.
Not that I know of.
I think it might be.
Really?
I'll have to research.
I seem to remember seeing it.
But I would like to give it a go and try and get this, because I've been playing more and more games with more people, and I remember really enjoying my 1-player Furnace, the only player I had. But I just remember feeling like I wouldn't get as tabled as much, because at the time MJ and I were just the only people that were gaming.
Yeah,
it was our group. It was me and MJ constantly playing games, so I felt that it wouldn't fit what we were trying to play. We could play other games. Like It's a Wonderful World plays really well at 2. it's a great engine builder option for a 2-player. Whereas I feel this would be really interesting with 4 people or 5 people, like you say, with the expansion. So yeah.
Oh, that bidding phase, especially with the extra person and the extra disc, is really interesting. So, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I'd love to give it a go again.
Yeah. So that was Furnace Interbellum.
Nice. Well, I haven't actually been playing that many new games recently, but I have broken my all-time scoring record on Barrage.
Nice.
Which I was very happy about. And I don't know if anyone saw on our socials or in our board game communities, but I had to sign a contract with MJ to get her to play 2 games of Barrage back-to-back on a Sunday because I have taken her into town before and given her a lift to the city so she can go out and party and have a great time. But she sometimes, most of the time, reneges on I'll play a game with you tomorrow, because then usually the next day she's in bed like going, my head, I'm not moving, turn the lights out, and won't participate in the gaming. So we signed a fair deal of which MJ put some small clauses in the small print about, helping herself to a couple of my 196s on the car journey into town. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, I got to play Barrage, 2 games of the Duel back-to-back again, which I've done already a couple of times. And unfortunately, MJ got 124 points, and then I got 170-something. And I was like, oh, wow, that was great, And I felt a bit bad that I'd done that well. And she's like, you haven't even added the 45 points you get from the Duel board because you absolutely obliterated that. And once I added that, I got like 221 to her 124. But yeah, it was a brutal game, but it was very fun. It was very fun. But usually and that really shows the importance of that Duel aspect. If you're not onto it and you let another player just run away with it, they will run away with the game. And I hadn't had that experience before. It had always been quite somewhat even. One player might get 9 points and the other player might get 15 points or something somewhat that's so similar, not 45-0. And yeah, I just exploited what I could and smashed it. But that was a great game. I got to play that.
I believe MJ called you Barrage Rain Man.
Yeah, I don't even know why she said I'm really not that good. I'm really not. I'm playing in a World Cup and I'm getting smashed every game at the moment in this round. But I just, it was a great couple of games for me. Anyway, I've also played Harmonies, and I know that Jules sizzled this game on episode 289, I believe.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I'll just stick with that, 289. Check it out. Jules' opinions on Harmonies. I have played it a couple of times now, and I played the river map as well, where you're trying to split the island up into pieces, which I did prefer.
Yes.
It was very hard.
Oh, yeah.
But man, that game, I really want to get it. It melts your brain.
Yep.
And it took us almost 4 hours to play 2 games.
Really?
I was
what?
Quite intoxicated.
Okay, that makes
sense. What a surprise.
Me and Matt Wood started off good, and then we just started talking, and there was like 15-minute breaks while we were just chatting. And then we were back to the game, and it's like, whose turn is it? And I was like looking at the cards, and it's so hard. It burns your brain in so many ways, that game.
Yep.
It's brilliant. The design is fantastic. I love the game. I would like to get it so I can play it more and possibly talk about it again in the future. But yeah, look out for episode 289. I won't say much more than that, other than it is a phenomenal game. It's
agreed.
Brilliant. It gives you the maximum amount of crunch in a small package in a small time frame for some people, for most people. And yeah, it's just great. It really does pack a punch, and that's why I like it. So yeah, Harmony's great. Jules, you have a game on your little run sheet list that I'm really interested to know about, but we haven't got a massive amount of time to hear about it. But please, you have to put me out of my misery and tell me what's going on.
I won't go into incredible detail because I've only had one play, but this is another unreleased game. I'm pretty sure it hasn't come out, and that is Windmill Valley from Board and Dice. So this will be one people will get to try at PlayCon, which is pretty exciting. And Windmill Valley is a Euro. There's no other way to cut that. Pure Euro, lots of things you can get points from doing. I played it 2-player against Mitch, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I really, really loved it. I enjoy a good Euro. I don't gravitate towards them, but if they're put in front of me, I'm like, yeah, sure, let's play. The core thing I'll talk about that I really enjoyed with Windmill Valley is the main board that lets you choose actions is a contraption that has 2 cogs on it. And the cog, it sort of felt like Barrage in a way, because the actions on those cogs, you get to upgrade them. You get to slot in new actions. It's not quite the same as Barrage. Obviously, you're putting the action into the wheel and the resources, and it spins and comes out. But this is very much you upgrade that wheel action, and eventually, as it turns, it will come back round again and again.
And just a quick one: that wheel, is that a shared action wheel?
No, you have your own individual ones.
Right. Okay.
Oh.
So you can upgrade them and customize them as you see fit throughout the game. And there's three tiers.
Donna's like, I want it. I want to play
it. Just like salivating.
Yeah.
So there's 3 tiers of upgrades as well. So there's some really good ones, and there's ones that are a bit better than the standard actions that start on the wheel. But what was so clever, and it was really funny, is one of the wheels is bigger and one's smaller. And I didn't realize until maybe a quarter through the game. I'm like, hang on. I sat at the table and I was counting the number of actions in each wheel. I'm like, oh, the left wheel, which is bigger, has 6 slots and the small one has 5. And I said, Mitch, that means the combinations of actions are going to change throughout the course of the game, because what happens is there's little red markers which you spin to the next red marker, and that that's where you stop. So there's a little bit of a cutout on your board that has 2 arrows that point to 2 actions on the cogs, and you can only perform one of the actions. You have to choose which one you're doing. There's a smattering of different actions. I'm not going to go through them all, but there's things about putting windmills out on the main board, which collect you resources. There's goals contracts that you can obtain. There's helpers in your tulip farm that you can get. There's harvesting tulips. There's planting the tulips, so on and so forth. Lots of things you can do.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the cool things is as you upgrade the actions on those wheels, there's ones with little plus tokens in the corner, which means if you've got that, you can do that and the other actions. So you start to get more efficiencies going on. Now, one of the really cool things in the game is it has a mechanism where people can pay money to sort of open the floodgates more, which spins your wheels faster. Now, you can choose to either keep the same speed that it was at from the previous turn, or you can voluntarily reduce it and close the floodgates. Yeah, you can slow down the floodgates again. And it's got this, and that's a shared mechanism between all players. So if someone goes, I really want to do this action that's 3 spaces away, well, I can pay a bunch of money, open the floodgates, and the wheel spins 3 spaces and just goes past a bunch of stuff. And then the next player can decide, well, I'm just going to keep it at the 3 speed, and they'll spin around. And it has a track to sort of almost simulate how much water is coming through the valley. And you can actually earn victory points or money for one of them. Your secondary small wheel starts with all the same action, which is reduce the water level by 2. So there's this tension of, I want to spend money to increase the speed of the wheel so I get to an action I really want to get to, and you must spin that number of times. It's not up to 3. If you're at the 3 speed, you have to spin 3. Then also reducing, you've got this mechanism where if someone's paying the money and getting more water into the valley, well, they're creating opportunities for people to reduce that level and get money and points out of it, which is really, really cool. It's this back and forth seesawing mechanism, which is, I thought it was very thematic and very, very cool. So there's lots of things to do. It's very point salady. The wheels is so cool. And it was funny when I told Mitch that I'd realized this. He's like, hang on. I need to check this out. So he grabbed a spare wheel from the box, put an upgrade in it. He's like, all right, these two actions together, and then spun them a bunch. And when it came back around to that upgraded action, it was on paired with a different action on the left wheel. He's like, oh my gosh. And we're just like, this changes everything. It was a really cool realization to go, well, I can't guarantee these two actions are going to be paired because not until it does a bunch of revolutions will they ever be paired again. But the game ends when you've done 4 full revolutions. It triggers the end. So
you don't want to spin it too fast sometimes.
Correct. You get less actions if it's spinning faster.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. I think people are really going to like this one.
Will I like it?
I think you will.
Yeah, I think I will. I think I already know
Is it Barrage Light?
I was going to ask what the weight was. How complex do you feel it is?
I don't feel it was that complex. The actions are really simple. I'd say it's a Teotihuacan level complexity, maybe a little bit lighter even.
Yeah, okay.
I've read that it's medium.
Yeah, it's
medium
definitely
weight.
like a solid medium weight game.
Nice.
But the complexity is how efficient can you be with all the different mechanisms and things you can do. So, yeah Windmill Valley, fantastic game. Really enjoyed it and absolutely would play it again.
My uncle actually used to live in a mill. And,
right.
Yeah, and he used to actually lived in the center mill and he controlled that floodgate. Mm-hmm. He had the huge cast iron mechanism, that when you like move it, it's like, it sounds like one of those old films, like tuk, 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 tuk,
yes.
as this thing moves. And I remember he used to raise the gate on a Friday night and we used to get in our canoes and we'd canoe upstream. And then we would sleep and camp upstream, and then he would lower it on the Sunday so that the water would move fast, so we could just cruise home.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It reminds me of that. So
very exciting. What are you even doing here with an upbringing like that?
It wasn't all wind in the willows. It was more like, give me that pint and don't take me back there. I love it here. Anyway, on talking about haggis.
I've got to tell you, I was just happened to Google haggis, just to watch a video about it. Man, the images that come up on Google of that is just so bad. It is so revolting. I don't know if you've ever had eaten anything like that, but it's oh my God.
I've never tried it. I wouldn't say no. I've just never had the opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, it was even now I can actually feel my throat like because I'm thinking about it. But anyway, all right. My oath last week was I got a little package of Kickstarter, predominantly trick-taking card games from a company called Portland Games Collective.
Yes.
Yeah. I had never actually heard of their games before, but I ended up late pledging and it came actually really quickly, and I'm really impressed with, their service and the quality of the games and everything like that. Anyway, there were 4 games in there. One of them was called Haggis, and I have heard of it too, but never played it. But anyway, I managed to get my husband to play it, and he looked at me after we watched a video with a bewildered look and swore and said, I have no idea what this is about. I have no idea what's going on. But anyway, we did play it. So we played 2-player, but formerly Haggis was 2 and 3-player, which is really limiting for a game. So now they've made it 2 to 4-player. They've changed it. But I have actually only played it 2-player. So there's 3 suits of cards ranging from 1 to 10, and each player gets 3 they're called court cards, with a jack, queen and king, and they just place those in front of them on the table, and they're actually considered wild cards. So you can use them when you're playing a card to fill in a particular number. And haggis there's actually the haggis, so a set of cards get taken out and put off to the side, and the winner will get those cards to score points, and that's actually called the haggis. And it's a ladder climbing trick-taking game. That's the description of it, but I find it a bit hard to sometimes work out what that really means when they just what that really
Yeah.
means. And then there's shedding, there's ladder climbing, shedding games. But in trick taking, you're all trying to get rid of your cards most of the time. But anyway, it's called a ladder climbing trick taking game. And the best hand obviously just wins the trick. The first person to shed all their cards wins the round. What's interesting is the scoring, because you need to shed all your cards in your hand plus the court cards that are on the table as well. And then you get whatever your opponent has won in tricks, in cards in tricks, you count those up, and it's 1 point per card, and then you multiply it by 5, and you actually get those points. Then you both individually score particular cards that you've won in tricks, and you score the 3, 5, 7, and 9. And you score a jack, queen, or king, and they will give you points as well. And actually, so we played several rounds of this, and it was really weird because the actual trick-taking part doesn't really score you many points. You really want to just be the first one out so you can get and count your opponent's cards and get it multiplied by 5, because that scores really good points. And another thing you can do, actually, which did appeal to my husband because he's a poker player, is you can actually bet. So before you start the round, you can actually bet. There's a baby bet. It's called baby bet, little bet, and big bet. And so it's a 5 points, 15 points, and 30 points. If you get it wrong, your opponent gets the points as well. Yeah, your opponent gets your points as well. So it's actually really interesting. And I actually really enjoyed teaching it to my husband, because he said, like with his hands, like both his hands on his head, like you would if you're playing a Lacerda game. It was so funny just to see him playing this trick-taking game. But what is it? What is the strategy? I don't understand. And it was just so funny just seeing him trying to work it out. So we've made a pact that when we have our cup of tea on the patio every morning, we're going to play it. But I actually really enjoyed this game.
Good question. Has he played any trick takers before? Does he knows the concept of trick takers?
He's played the crew. We've played the crew before. So he knows he knows the concept, but
correct.
It's not just about winning a number of tricks. It's actually not about that at all. It doesn't matter how many tricks you win at all. It's about getting rid of your cards, and he's never played that kind of trick-taking game before. So it was very, very interesting. And I actually even said to him, we're in like the golden age of trick-taking at the moment, like with Japanese games and other games that are coming out. I don't know how many variations on trick-taking you can possibly have. I seem to have so many of them, and there's just that little nuance in them, and I can't get rid of them. Like I can't. I just love trick-taking games. They're just so bloody clever. I just think they're awesome. So anyway, Haggis, I loved it. And you can actually buy these direct from Portland Game Collective, and it's really good service. So yeah, it was great. Really enjoyed it.
Well, I will be going to the island of trick-taking games next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have as much enthusiasm as other people for them. Like, I don't dislike them, but it's kind of like one of those things that, like, you're into it. If you're into it, you know it, and there's like all these grail games and these lists, and it's like, I want to get this one, I got to get this one, and you're hunting for them. I don't have that knowledge, so I don't have that sort of love for it. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that drive for it, because I would just buy any trick taker because I would probably look at it. I might try and look it up on BGG, or I might ask someone, hey, is this any good in the store? But I would have no real clue what I was getting.
Yeah.
But any of them I've played, I've loved. Like that time we played a bunch at Mitch's house, Jules, was great. Really enjoyed how different and how wacky they can get, and also how simple some of them are, and how they work really well. Even games like, I know that it's not Japanese, but it might have spawned from a Japanese original, but like Skull King is really good. I think it's great. Scout. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting card games. So I'm very excited to go and see some and hopefully learn a few things while I'm there. So, yeah.
I actually had not played trick-taking at all. Normally, I think of people who love trick-taking as people who grew up with it, playing 500.
100%.
And actually, I've tried to play 500 many years ago, and I didn't understand any of it. I could not get it. But I played The Crew. It just stemmed from there, really. It just opened up a whole new world, that game. So,
Cool. Nice.
Step into the world of More Than Meeples in Fortitude Valley, Brisbane. They offer an impressive selection of board games, Kickstarter editions, and card games to suit every gamer's taste. Whether you're a collector or a casual player, their knowledgeable staff can help you find the perfect game. Visit their store or explore their collection online at morethanmeeples.com.au. More Than Meeples, where every game is an adventure.
Well, that was a bunch of awesome games we got to talk about before we mash on to some sizzling games. Now, if it's okay, I'm just going to jump straight in.
Mm-hmm.
So my sizzling game this week is No Thanks. This is
a
game we've spoken about a million times already, but I feel like when I looked at the list, we've never sizzled it, and I feel like it really deserves that level of respect and love.
I agree.
Because this is a game that's another one where it's just a pamphlet. I'm holding it in my hand. Give it a wobble.
I can hear it.
There you go. Exactly. It's 2 pieces of paper, basically, and it has so much fun. We've played it 38 times this year.
Whoa.
And that's game. So, like, if we play a round, and there's a winner, it goes on the stats. So that's, that sometimes we might play 5 games in a row. So it's not like, those games are sometimes quite condensed.
Yeah.
But this is a game you actually introduced me to, Jules, and I loved it the moment I played it. I had a great time. It was the perfect game at like 10 o'clock on a Boxing Day party thing. It was brilliant. I loved it. And I have just been enamored with it ever since. We play it all the time. Finn constantly requests it. If we go somewhere like MJ's mum's house, he will remind us to take the game. So we take it with us, and it's a game that MJ's mum does not really do the board gaming thing. It's not her thing. She likes Rummy Cub. She likes golf. She likes going to see the Broncos. She's not massively into board gaming, and we've tried to introduce it to several, and they go okay, but never fun. Like we've played Code Names and a few other things, and so Clover, and they go all right. That they do their thing, but she loves No Thanks. She really enjoys it, and we all have a laugh. And there's lots of, I always place those tokens out and make people. I know if there's a card out that I want, but they really don't want, I will push my luck and force them to bleed out tokens. And it's backfired several times, definitely more times than I've profited from it. But yeah, it's a fantastic game. So I will go through a very brief description of how the game works. Essentially, you've got 33 cards numbered from 3 to 35. And every player in a 5-player or less game gets 11 counters. Or when you go above that, you get like 9 or 8, depending on the player count, up to 7 players maximum. And what happens is you shuffle the deck of these cards. They've all got their numbers on the top, on the front. You flip them over so you can't see, and you just shuffle out 9 cards at random. You never look at them again, so they are disappeared from the game. The cards sit in the center of the table, and you flip the first card, and the eldest player in the room gets to go first.
That's me.
Which Finn loved, because he mocked MJ's poor mum ad nauseum about it. He's like, oh yeah, the elderly player goes first. And I was like, whoa, you can't say that. And that became like a running joke for maybe 6 sessions that we've had.
That's great.
He remembers that rule, and unfortunately poor MJ's mum also now remembers that rule. So it's very clear that she's going first every time. And basically the card flips over and it has a number on it between the 3 to 33. And it's up to you whether you want to just take that card and you say, I'm taking this card, and you place it in front of you. And those are negative points at the end of the game. Or Alternatively, you can place one of your 11 counters that are in your hand onto the card and say no thanks. Then it will go to the next player, and it's up to them. Do they want to place a counter on it and say no thanks, or do they want to take that card? So let's say it was a 16, and I said no thanks, and it goes to Dana. She says no thanks. Jules says no thanks, and I take that card. When I take that 16, it has 3 tokens on it. So I now have 13 tokens in my hand total, and that gives me more bidding power than the other players currently that are out on the table. But also, the tokens get deducted from your score at the end of the game, which is just brilliant because, yeah, you can have some big swings with the tokens. When you don't even think it's going to be that important, the tokens can be everything in the right game setting. And essentially, you collect these cards throughout the game, and if you ever collect a run, you basically start to put those cards on top of each other, and you can even fill in gaps. So if you had a 7 and a 5 and a 6 comes up, as long as you can win that 6, you can merge those cards together and the lowest card goes on top. So you've only got 5 points. Now, today I put a photo in the Discord of just like the perfect game. It was great. And it was, luckily enough, it was me that was in control of the game. And there was like a 31 out, and everyone went round 2 or 3 times. There was plenty of chips on it, and I took it begrudgingly. But I had so many tokens. When like the card 29 came out, I could risk it and force other players to just feed me tokens. And I took the 29. I think it had 8 tokens on it.
Nice.
So it was only worth 21 really. And I already had the 31 from just taking it with a couple of tokens on. And then the 30 came out to bridge the gap.
Nice.
And I was like, well, you suckers are going to be paying a lot of tokens. So I went round once because MJ's mum was to my right, and I put another token on it, and she looked at me like, evil little turd.
Yeah.
You evil man, oh boy. And yeah, it went around again, and she begrudgingly put her token on it, and I took it, and I had so many tokens, and I cleared the deck, and I ended up having a run of, I think it was from 34 to 29 by the end. And I could just force those players to bleed out their tokens. And yeah, I had 22 tokens at the end of the game. So I finished on 7 points. And yeah, it was just great fun. And Finn was actually pretty close. I think he finished on like 12 or something around that number. And yeah, it was just great. The strategies in it are actually pretty good. There are strategies. There are interesting things, and there's a lot of risk. But when you take a card, the beauty of it is when you take the card, the next card that gets flipped over, you get to take, or you get to choose to put tokens on it and try and force other players out of their tokens. And if that number is a high number, they are going to pay. And it's just genius. It's so simple. It costs like $15. This should be in everybody's collection.
Agreed.
Literally no excuses. Like, it's that good. You can crack it out anywhere. I'm actually going to take it to work next week and teach some of the guys at work who do not play any board games in any capacity. But I think that this is something that would be almost like a good team building thing on a lunch break as well. Like, it really is. It's a really fun game. It's so small and snappy. No one's going to get stressed out about losing. It's great. It's a fantastic game, and I will never get rid of it.
Where are you hiding your tokens?
In my hand. In my hand.
Oh, we have, when we play it like as a family, you know, if you've got a lot of tokens, you can't fit them in your hand. You've got to develop ways of, you know, hiding these tokens. And then, of course, I drop them, of course.
Yeah.
Going, then everybody knows how many tokens I've got.
Well, Finn puts them behind his screen. Like, we give him the box lid and use that as a screen for him. Now, the funny thing is that he kind of like, this is another part of the game, is he sort of slides them around like inside the lid so you can hear it sort of scratching the lid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? When there's no scratchy noise, you know, old Finley ain't got any tokens anymore.
Yeah.
And the problem with no tokens is you can't say no thanks.
Nope, you got to take it.
You have to take that card. So there's been a couple of games where I'm really sure he hasn't got a token, and it might benefit me a little bit to take this card that's got 4 or 5 tokens on it, but it's worse for him. And I'll just leave it and I'll go, no thanks, and put a token on it. He goes, oh yeah, I'll take that one. I'll take that one, and pretend like he's got tokens.
Yeah.
And then he'll even like sometimes knock the box lid over, and there's nothing in there. We go, you haven't got any tokens anyway. He's like, yes, I do. They're in my. I keep them in my hand the whole time. But yeah, there's been many times where I've like shook my hand with two hands and really given it a good old rattle. Go, oh, this is heavy. This is so heavy. I might have to put 10 down on the table and then keep the others in my hand just to show Finn. Like, yeah, it's so fun. It adds such a great family experience, and also adults. Like, it can be brutal, but in a really funny, hilarious way. And there's been times where I've begrudgingly taken a card knowing that I am going to screw myself over, but I know I've screwed MJ more and let Finn take the win because I don't care. Like, I'd rather that happen than MJ win and be happy. Like, I'd be like, nah, I'll take the hit, and I'll take the card that stops her getting the run that she needs to condense all those cards. And yeah, it's great. It's brilliant. It's an absolute genius game. Love it on every level. So yeah, that's no thanks. You can pick it up pretty much anywhere at the minute, and well worth having. 100%.
I think it's like $15.
Yeah, it's
super cheap.
Yeah, it's really cheap. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Cool. That was me. That was no thanks. Love it. Check it out. Dana, what is your sizzling game for this week, mate?
Finally, I'm going to be sizzling Unmatched Tales to Amaze. Now, you might think that this is a story-driven game. It's not. I didn't find any tales in the game, but it is amazing, which is why I'm sizzling it.
There we go.
So there you go. So this was kindly provided to us by VR Distribution. So you might be familiar with the Unmatched series. I'm sure you are, but it's normally like a competitive deck dueling game with characters from books and movies and video games and myth and legend, and they face off against each other, and you can play head to head. You can play teams of 2v2, or you can just play 4-player, and you can have this free for all against each other. And it's actually really cool because you can play like Alice in Wonderland versus the raptors from Jurassic Park, and just these really cool, kooky matchups. I think Adrian, maybe 2 episodes ago, so maybe 295, was talking about that. There are also the homemade decks that you can get on
heaps of them
on BGG. So really, really interesting. Anyway, but Unmatched Adventures Tales to Amaze is a little bit different. It just changes the formula a little bit. So instead of being head-to-head, however, you can play this competitively as well, it changes it to a cooperative game, which I have found probably, I think, suits me better than having these head-to-head matchups or anything like that. And it suits the people that I play board games with as well. So you can also play it solo as well. There are 2 villains in the box. There's Mothman, and I actually looked up some of these characters as well, but he's actually, like, this is a character which was believed to have been sighted like in the 1930s in the American, bushland type thing.
He's been sighted throughout history. Like, he's
really?
A big thing. Yeah, he's a big cultural thing. He's always seen before a disaster, like a natural disaster or a big disaster, Mothman. Yeah.
Have you seen this thing, what it looks like? It's not easy to miss. I'm surprised that this
big red eyes. Big red eyes.
Yeah. Oh, anyway. Okay. Well, there you go. And obviously the Martian Invaders is all about aliens. You can choose from 4 different characters. So they've got Annie Christmas. And actually, I only know one of these characters. I had to look all of them up because I'd never heard of them. So you've got Annie Christmas, which, believe it or not, is like a 7-foot tall Neil boat from Neil Boat lady, like on a paddle boarder from Mississippi. So I'd never heard of her, but that's Annie Christmas. Got Nikola Tesla, Dr. Jill Trent, which is like a comic book heroine, and then you've got Golden Bat. which is a 1930s Japanese superhero. So you've got the 4 characters that you can choose from, and you've got 2 sides of the board as well. It's a double-sided board. One side you would play against Mothman, and then the other side you would play against the Martian invader. The setup is very straightforward. Especially if you're already familiar with Unmatched, you would find the rules extremely familiar. I was pleased to see that in the box it came with the setup for how this cooperative game is set up, but it also included another rule book which had the core rules of Unmatched in there. So people who were not familiar with how it played, it also came with that as well. And the rule book was excellent, actually, I must admit. So you pick your character, and they some of them come with sidekicks as well. And you pick your character, and the villain, depending on how many players, has 10 health per player. So, for example, a couple of days ago, we played a 3-player game, so the villain would get 30 health. And how you determine your turns is there's an initiative deck. So each character has a card. You shuffle up this initiative deck, and then you will just draw it randomly, and it'll tell you whose turn it is. This is obviously it's very random, but it is quite interesting because you're going to have to take that into account that your turn may not be until the very end, after all the villains. And by the way, you also add minions in with this as well. So you've got a whole bunch of minions. I think there's 8 minions as well that are also on the board, and that's 1 per player. So you've got things like the Blob, and he drops like acid tokens on spaces. You got the Tarantula that has spider webs, lays spider webs out. And the Loveland frog, he's brutal, man. He's brutal. He almost got us. But yeah. So, and it's such a simple game. This is a simple game to play. And I played with 2 new players who had never played any type of game like this before, never played Unmatched, and were not the type of people that would play battling type of games. And actually, they loved it. And it's so simple because you take 2 actions. You either pick up a card, pick up a card and move. You either play a card or you attack. That's pretty much it. It's so simple, and you get 2 actions. So the rule book suggests that you start with Mothman and then go to the Martian invader second. And I would agree with that it's probably easier to start that way. I actually played 2 games of this a couple of days ago, and the 3-player game against Mothman, we had 3 characters, and it was down to the wire. How you win is you have to kill the villain. That's how you win. You can still win even if all the main characters are dead. If just one sidekick is still living, has still 1 health, you can still win as long as the villain dies. You don't have to kill all the minions. The main aim of the game is to kill the villain. And it was basically just down to the wire. And it was this little minion, and this was so cool. I just love that each of the characters has something unique about them, but it seems very thematic to me. And like it was this Loveland frog was like this poison frog, and it just kept nipping at you, and it just like wore you down. And what would happen is each round you would add another card, another initiative card. So if you let this frog live for 4 rounds, by the 4th round, it was having 4 turns per round. And in Unmatched, you can choose to defend if you like, if you have a card, but often you will just run out of cards. You won't have a defense card, or you'll run out of cards. And this frog just attacked constantly. We had no cards, and it was just brutal. And it was just so cool. And when we won, by the end of it, I just remember seeing these two ladies and they just went, oh, it was just so stressful.
Relief.
It was so stressful for them and so relieving, but it was so exciting. Oh, I just absolutely love this game. It's completely changed Unmatched for me because I don't like just beating someone to death, not like you.
That's my favorite pastime.
Baldy. Yeah, that's not for me. But I just really, really enjoyed this. I thought it was fantastic. The other villain was quite interesting as well because it would go in and attack you, but then it would quickly retreat, and so you were having to spend one of your actions just to move to get in range of it all the time. And it was just so interesting. This is a puzzle. It's a puzzle game. So I just love the idea of this puzzle, even though the characters I don't really know the characters. I still grew to love them playing this game. And another thing about this game as well is that you can take any of your unmatched characters and put them into the game. You don't just have to play with those.
That's very
four.
cool. Very cool.
That makes a big difference.
And I just think that is awesome. It's a great first set, and then you could buy other characters as you go along. But it's extremely versatile. The components are excellent. It's so well set up with the insert and everything. It's a blast to play this game. I really enjoyed it, and honestly, I can't speak highly enough about it. It was really great. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. I have been absolutely obsessed with how you say Mothman.
Oh, is that wrong?
Oh, no, I don't think it's wrong. I think it's potato, but because you say Mothman, it sounds like he's like the local milkman or something. He's like, hello, just going down the shop to watch the local disaster. Like, it's just,
going to see Mothman.
Just me Mothman. Yeah. I don't think it's any right or wrong. Mothman, like it's the same. But maybe I was just obsessed with it. I just could see him with like a tweed jacket on, in like a British country soap opera type thing, like Emmerdale Farm or something like that. Mothman.
Yeah. I was actually looking online at because this is published by Yellow and Restoration Games. They actually do like a survey of people just to suggest their like the decks that are on BGG. They ask people to submit them to see if they would be suitable for release in their next lot of releases. And so, it's a really great system. I really, really enjoy it. And it's just given it's breathed life to sets that I wasn't really getting played. So I'm really happy about that.
It's very cool. Sweet. So that was Unmatched Adventures, Tales to Amaze. Jules, I know about this game. I'm super interested to know more about this game. It sounds great, and I've seen it before. So please tell us more.
So I'm going to be talking and sizzling Soda Smugglers. So this is by Bitewing Games, and a big thank you to Bitewing Games for actually sending a review copy of this. This was part of a trilogy of games for their very first Kickstarter. I don't know how many years ago, maybe 3 or 4 at this point. I can't quite remember. But because it was their first campaign and the first set of games that they'd ever released, they hadn't really built up a name and a reputation for themselves. Now, since that time, they've done Zoovardis and Gussie Gorillas and a bunch of other games now, and reprints even for Zoovardis as well. And I just felt like this trio of games didn't quite get attention in Australia in particular. Now, if I went online, I could find plenty of videos, but there was no coverage from any Australian content creators whatsoever. And I could be wrong, but certainly for me, it felt like it fell under the radar. Now, of that trio, Soda Smugglers was the one that caught my attention the most. And for those people that have played Sheriff of Nottingham, it's very, very similar to that, just more streamlined and quicker, which is great. It's designed by Rainer Knizia, so that's take for what it's worth. He's a great prolific designer. Now, in Soda Smugglers, very much like Sheriff of Nottingham, you'll have one player as an inspector or, the sheriff or whatever it may be. And every other player is trying to smuggle sodas into town or whatever the theme is. At the beginning of each round, each player that's not the inspector will get 5 cards. And on those cards, they have certain values of sodas, 0 through 3. And you'll pick, of the 5 cards, 2 of them to be the suitcase. They're all pictures of suitcases. The artwork is actually really brilliant in this.
It's very cool.
Very, very cool looking. 2 of the suitcases will be your suitcases that you're smuggling, and you'll play them face down. And then you'll also put one more suitcase in front of you that is your bribe face down. Once everyone's selected their cards, obviously using 3 of the 5, you'll toss the other 2 into a discard. You all reveal your bribe. Now, from then on, what the inspector is doing is they're trying to get information and bust people for smuggling too many sodas. You are allowed to smuggle 0 or 1 soda. Anything more than 1 is illegal. The inspector has a couple of tokens, the first of which is to straight up look in someone's briefcase. So they can put the token on a briefcase and say, I want to see what's in there. The player must reveal it. And that's all there is to it. There's arrest tokens. So they literally arrest a player. They have to reveal their 2 suitcases. And if they are over the limit, then the sheriff or the inspector will get the sum value of the sodas of those 2s as victory points. Now, what's really cool is we have the deluxe edition, which is nice plastic stackable bottle caps.
Yeah.
In the original, it's just cardboard chits that look like bottle caps, but the deluxe tokens are super lush. Really, really love them. But if the sheriff or the inspector was wrongly accusing someone of smuggling too many sodas, meaning they only had 0 or 1 soda in the 2 suitcases, then they have to pay them 2 bottle caps from their own point supply as a sorry. And the rule book states you must offer a sincere apology. So when I played this with people, oh man, did people milk that apology out of people, make them grovel.
Yeah.
And the table talk is so good. It's so good in this game. And the last token that the inspector has is a token to accept people's bribe. So if your bribe is accepted, you must pay the inspector from your personal point supply, but then your 2 smuggling cases get through and you get whatever the values are from the middle supply. And it's just most points or bottle caps at the end of the game wins. And the game will go around till everyone's had 1 chance of being the inspector. I think at a lower player count, it might go around a couple of times. So that does vary a little bit. And it goes up to 8 players. And I played it at 8 players, and it was just such a good time.
Yeah.
The bluffing, the mind games of putting out a bribe of 0, going, I'm offering you nothing. Check my cases, and just egging people on as the inspector to take a look or arrest them. And it's so, so good. If you're into bluffing games and you've ever played Sheriff of Nottingham, this is very similar, more streamlined, much quicker to play. And for me, is an absolute winner. It's a little bit of a shame that there really isn't much stock of it in Australia, except I do know that More Than Meeples have stock. So you can head to their website and get some of that. But other than that, if they happen to sell out, go bug Bitewing Games. Say, get stock into Australia somehow. I don't know why they don't have more, but this game is absolutely brilliant. I will be making sure it's in the PlayCon library. This is something for me. I really enjoy the Dark City series of Bristol and Hollywood and things like that. This, to me, I think is better. It's more aligned with the style of games I like. Now, Bristol's great fun. There's a lot of banter. There's not much bluffing in it, though, and I really love bluffing games. And in this game, it just has such a great space to egg people on, to check people's carts. And what's really clever to me is you get dealt those 5 cards, right? You could get 5 cards with absolutely nothing on them. And then it's up to you to try and egg on the investigator to get them to check your cases, because that's the way you're going to get points. And sometimes you get dealt a bunch of cards and you've got all high values, and now you've really got to try and deflect that attention, or maybe offer a big bribe so they actually take it and let through your other cases. So there's a little bit of strategy in there, and there's a lot of room for fantastic table talk. I absolutely love Soda Smugglers. Absolute winner. Thank you so much to Bitewing Games for sending it over. This is going to get a lot of table time for me. Fantastic game.
It's so good that it's a portable version.
Yeah.
Because, Sheriff of Nottingham is
it's a huge box.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a nice, small, magnetic closing box. Really good.
Yeah. Yeah. Does it come with I noticed that it has event cards.
Yes. So there's a variant you can play where each round there's an event card. So it might do things like, for this round, no sodas can be smuggled, not even one. Or you can smuggle a little bit more, or, there's just small rules to change up each round. Just add a little wrinkle, which I haven't played with yet, but I'd probably play from now on. Just adds a little bit of interesting changes each round. But yeah, event cards are kind of cool, but you can absolutely have a blast with it without them. It's a variant to play with.
Mm.
Yeah, nice. Sounds good. I have seen it before, and I've seen a few people actually playing it at an event that I went to, and yeah, it just looked like a blast. And it's such a convention game day game.
Yes.
Like, we've just basically, there's always that one loud group.
Oh yeah,
in the room.
That's going to be Soda Smugglers.
That's that game. Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right. So cool. Well, that was Soda Smugglers by Bitewing Games. Mm-hmm. Thanks for that, Jules.
Hi there, it's Dana Banana from the Board Game Barbecue, and if you listen to the podcast, you'll know that I love a new board game smell. So when I'm in need of a new aroma, the best place to go is to head to Advent Games. They have a huge range of games, from pre-orders to in-stock games. Actually, I don't think there's a store that can match their variety. Dean, the owner, is fantastic, and if I'm after a particular game, he's always so responsive. So if you're after a new board game smell, make sure you go to adventgames.com.au.
So, a quick recap on last week's question. It was, if you could only play one game for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? Dana, would you like to read out the Facebook answers, please?
So from Facebook, we've got Kerry Restante, who's a volunteer from our Brisbane Game Days. The Quest for El Dorado. I think it would more often scratch the particular board game itch I have. It is also very modular, especially with the expansions, and it wouldn't feel too samey each time. Either that or just a deck of cards which opens up a whole world of gaming. And actually, that was probably the most popular answer, I think, of all the social media platforms.
Wow.
I was going to say that actually a lot of people said a deck of cards. Some people even were very smart about it and said 2 decks of cards.
Oh, yeah.
Because that involved for playing some particular games, which I have no clue about. But yeah, sounds good. So.
Yeah. Claire Smith, who we met at South by Southwest, and she said, I think I'd just choose death.
Oh, nice.
I love that answer. Jimmy Boss or Jimmy Bose. Definitely Marvel Legendary and all its expansions. With all the heroes, masterminds, schemes, villains, and henchmen, every single setup is different. There's nothing like setting off a huge combo and drawing continuous cards, building heaps of attack and recruits. With some creativity, you can even set up your own campaign or join a league. And that was another popular answer, was Marvel Champions and Marvel Legendary.
Yeah.
And J. Ben Dixon says Magic the Gathering, mainly because it's always releasing new content and I can buy new things still.
Nice. On Instagram, we had Board Game Addict UK said, I can't see a time in my life when I won't be playing some version of Carcassonne.
Fair call.
Cool. And then Discord, Jules?
Yeah, on Discord, we had JB say only one game for the rest of our life would have to be a system like D&D or Magic type trading card game. If I had to pick a single game, it would be Frosthaven, my precious. And then Chris said D&D is a good choice, but I lean more towards GURPS or Savage World systems, simply because they're a bit more open, giving you more freedom with settings, etc. I'm assuming that's more role-playing games. I don't know. So. I'm not an expert. We need Lauren here.
Yeah.
Or Mitch.
Yeah, that's it. Cool. Yeah, thanks very much for all those contributions, guys, to the question on the pod. We really appreciate that. It was a very interesting question. I mean, I'm not going to fool anybody. Mine would be Barrage. Like, that's where I'm at with that. Have you guys got an answer for yourselves?
Oh, yeah. I already said on the socials.
I was going to say, he's already written his answer.
Yeah.
I've got all the expansions. That's infinite campaigns and mixing and matching.
Yeah.
So good.
It was actually quite interesting looking at the socials because people were sort of really thinking about it. Do I go for the simplicity that I can play with my grandma this game, but I can also play something more intricate? Or do I have a campaign game that goes forever and that will never end and it'll just give me never-ending content? And then there was everything in between. So, yeah. It was a really good question, actually.
Cool. Well, we are now on the precipice of Australia's largest board game dedicated convention, which is not too far away. It's actually less than a month when this releases.
That's crazy.
Which is terrifying. It's really terrifying. No woohoos. It's terrifying. Okay, but we would like to know, we kind of touched on this earlier on with Soda Smugglers. What is your ideal convention game and why? Now, for me, like, I love all these heavy Euros. Like, I play, some 18xx games, but I also play light games. I play kind of a bit of everything. I really do. But I have learnt from my experiences from the game days of not playing something that's very heavy and hard to teach in those kind of environments. For me, that is not the space for that. For other people, sometimes this is the only chance they get to experience those kinds of games. Yeah, or they might, they want to play on Mars. They don't get to play on Mars at home. They've played it solo 10 times and they're very happy to teach it and play that game because that's their only outlet for that game. And that's completely cool and completely understandable. But for me, I struggle with teaching those games in those kind of environments quite a lot. There's a lot of background noise, and especially for us when we run these events, there's not really a lot of time to sort of sit down and go, okay, I can teach you this game that I kind of know. We might have to look at the rule books a bit. Like, it's just not always possible.
Yeah.
So for me, even at just the PAX and things like that, I definitely, PAX is another beast in itself, just so loud, but playing something that's super interactive, has elements of like bidding or elements of some kind of heavy engagement and interaction with the players, whether it's screwing each other over or setting up big plays and things like that. It just adds that fun element that you almost like the noisiest table in the room is a good thing. Like, that's for me. When I hear other people laughing and roaring, I don't think, oh God, just shut up. I'm trying to play on Mars and, I've got to concentrate on my massive action. Like, I really enjoy that room, and you kind of feed off the energy of those other tables doing those things. That's how I feel about that. And I think it's great. A prime example of an experience of this would be one of the Sydney game days, playing Ready, Set, Bet. And just everyone else selling in, 7:00, had your dinner, glass of wine, maybe a pint, nice and chill, going to play some kind of quiet games. And there's just people in the corner going, oh, come on, Blue, come on, Blue, come on, Blue, 7, come on, 7, get up 7. And it's just chaos. And it's just fun. And you don't get to do that in your lounge room. You don't have that same atmosphere. And not that you're trying to get gawked at, but people coming over and going, what's going on? What's going on? And everyone just watching that little iPad and everyone shaking each other. And when the horse crosses the line, everyone jumping in the air and getting all excited. You don't get that at home as much. It's less. It might happen. You might have a great time, but it's just doesn't have that same energy.
Absolutely.
For me. So yeah, games like that I think are great for those situations. Real situational. So that's my take on it. So Jules, go.
Yeah, for me, what is ideal for conventions would be games, like you've said, that aren't the super heavy Euros that take 2 to 3 hours to play. For me, it's something that's an hour or less, but also that the rule book can be read and understood by everyone in probably 10, 15 minutes at most, because it's hard to watch a video when the room is loud and there's all sorts of other distractions going on. The rule book needs to be easily read, well understood, and you can just launch into it. I think games that can be picked up with that sort of ease are really good for conventions. But yeah, like you said, a lot of people, that's their time to bring out the big heavy games because they just don't get that time unless they set it aside to go to a multi-day event. And that's really cool as well. But yeah, as I said, Soda Smugglers would be an ideal convention game. Harmonies is even fantastic. That's very simple to learn from the rule book, and you play and you're done. You should be in about 30 minutes, not 2 hours, Adrian.
What I was going to say as well is that when I walk around a room at these events and I see someone playing on Mars, or I see someone playing Firefly with every expansion known to man, and I look at those people, I have a massive amount of respect.
Oh, for sure.
I'm like, wow. You look at that and you actually like, yeah, wow. Well done. Like that deserves a clap, because I would not do that. I respect you. Go for it. It's great to see. Like, it really is. So
yeah.
Mate, you, Dana?
Well, I was actually just thinking about from a different perspective. I am not I wouldn't call myself a loud gamer or anything like that. I am not one to get up and like in at a convention. I don't know whether I would do that. I'm a little bit, I don't know, maybe shy or whatever. It doesn't come across that way when I'm trying to get my body into a board game bag. But anyway,
that was a very funny reel.
Actually, I'm just going to just tangent. I did actually try and get in it again today, and I got my daughter to sit on top of me, but I still couldn't get in there. Anyway, back to the point. But I just remember the Brisbane game day where we had that was the first time we'd had 200 people, and we had quite a few people that turned up that were new and that were quite nervous about the whole, the noise in the room. And we had a volunteer, actually it was Kerry, who I mentioned it before, who was teaching Sky Team.
Oh, yes.
And she had 2 lots of Sky Team. That was full the entire day. Entire day. And that was like such a good introduction for everybody to move on to other games and then meet someone and then go and play another game. And I actually saw families, like dads with their kids, going back and playing it again,
That's
like going
cool.
back around and playing it again. And I just thought that was so cool. I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah. Kerry that day was like, I don't know if you've ever seen the band Too Many DJs. There's 2 DJs and they've got 5 turntables and they're mixing like dubstep and stuff with Dolly Parton. Like, she was like that. She was like, Sky Team, Sky Team on the left, Sky Team on the right, Sky Team on the left again, Sky Team on the right again. Like, she was such a machine. It was great. Very cool to see.
Yeah.
What a legend. So
Yeah.
Cool. Well, that's enough from us. We would like to know, what's your ideal convention game and why? Actually, I didn't even sort of mention, what games would you like? An actual game title from you guys.
So for me, I think mine would be something like Veiled Fate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Very interactive, easy to pick up, and could play a high player count as well.
Mm-hmm. Dana?
I'm just trying to think. You caught me off guard.
I'll jump in real quick.
Let me think.
My first answer is going to be Bristol. It's in my top 10 for a reason. It's fantastic. But also, yeah, I think Veiled Fate, Jules, like, for all the love that I have for that game, I really do love it and respect it. I think it might just be a bit too much. Like, it is. It's a little bit. It's a little bit. But it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's fantastic. And I would definitely tell people to try and play it. I mean, man, I've seen a Brisbane Game Day being played on 3 tables at the same time. So it's doing something right, okay? But yeah, anything. Like No Thanks is a great example. Goes to 7 players, in anything like that, So.
But even like 7, I would have thought 7 Wonders or something to that effect. And actually, Quest for El Dorado is a really good example as well.
For sure.
Yeah.
Cool. So, please jump on the socials and let us know what you all think. And we will hopefully maybe read some of the answers out on the pod.
Board game nights getting stale? Yearning for an adventure beyond the roll of the dice? Board and Dice crafts unforgettable experiences. Imagine building a legendary city in Teotihuacan, energizing Saxony with Nucleum, or facing monstrous threats in SideQuest Nemesis. From expert Euro games to epic escape rooms in boxes, Board and Dice offers unique games for all players. Find your next obsession at Board and Dice. Visit boardanddice.com to explore their games.
Okay, just want to give a massive thanks to all our awesome Patreons, absolute legends. Can't wait to see a bunch of you at PlayCon. It's going to be crazy. Super excited to catch up with everybody. That'll be great. But please, check out our Patreon subscription. There's some cool stuff on there. In fact, actually, I can't do too much as a bit of a spoiler, but the latest episode has the amazing duo of Dana and myself doing a Patreon pod, of which hopefully some people might get some enjoyment out of. But I think Dana enjoyed it more than me at some points. But I won't spoil it.
I was so excited.
You were so excited.
Patreon episode.
Yeah. Let's just say there's lots of 80s muscle, and Dana was having a great time. So. All right. Okay. So, check us out, Patreon.com/Book and Barbecue. That's where a lot of our Patreon exclusive content is. It's pretty fun. There's lots of different things and lots of back catalog to check out. That's also awesome. But there's other ways you can support the podcast. The easiest way is please just tell your friends. And like, if you see one of these zany posts by Dana getting into a game bag and all these other things, they are mainly Dana doing a lot of the social media stuff. And she does a fantastic job. Love your work, Dana. Massive respect. You've just upped the game completely. But if you can share those posts, share them to other groups, show people what we do and bring people into the hobby. Like, share it with your family. Like, show them that board gaming can be just mad fun. That would be great. You can also go to Apple Podcasts, leave a star rating. Spotify also has a star rating. You can leave reviews even on BGG. Like, if people are asking about what podcast you listen to, just lots of people might just sit back and go, I won't say anything, someone else will. But be that person that grabs that baton and go, I'm going to do this thing and tell everyone about this podcast because it's pretty average. No, it's pretty awesome. Say awesome. I meant awesome, not average. The other A word. Yeah, that'd be great. And just join the community. Like, so many people are joining Discord. New person in Discord just the other day. It's like, I've been listening for ages and I'd never joined in Discord because I've got a bit of a sort of tech phobia. I'm not big into technology. It's not my thing. But he's jumped straight into the conversations. We're chatting. He's coming to PlayCon. Can't remember his name for the life of me, but I'm sure I'll figure it out later and he might even remember. But awesome. Like, the great communities. So please check them all out. And all the links will be in the show notes under the link tree. So you can see everything under one simple link. Okay, this is big trouble time because I know Dana's average is getting worse. So we'll do Dana's last.
Oh, God.
Mine's still to play Dune. Like, I haven't changed that. I haven't been able to do that. It's obviously a beast of a game. And for someone like me, you really need that DM kind of to lead you through it. I know it's not a DM's role, but you need that person that takes the charge and is almost sort of orchestrating or conducting this kind of a game, especially for a first play for all the other players. But I'm getting it done. I'm just going to go to Japan. I said that at the start, get my Japan thing done, get that out of my way. Like, it's in my way. Get it out of the way.
It's in the way of PlayCon.
It's in the way of PlayCon. Hurry up, get that done. Like, get that out in the bin. And go to Japan, do all that stuff, come back and be refreshed. And show everybody Dune. I'm really keen. I'm actually probably going to try and grab Dana in and Def in as well and show them at the same time so they can all jump in because it'll be a good day. I would like to do another Oath, and it's one of those weird ones that I like to do because perfectly strange in my own skin. And that will be, I might actually try and teach someone a game in Japan, that I don't know. Just maybe if I go into a game shop, I might bring, I might take No Thanks or something over there that they might not have. I might try and show it to somebody. Who knows? They might enjoy it.
You could. It's language independent, No Thanks.
100%. That's a great game. So I was thinking about taking Barrage because that's also language independent, but it's just so big.
Yeah.
It's I'm really keen to try. I'm figuring it out. So never say never.
Wow.
Sorry.
As the Goonies say, never say die. So who knows?
The reason why you don't want to take Barrage is because it's big.
Yeah.
That's actually the reason.
Yeah, it's big.
It's got nothing to do with the fact that you're going to a country that speaks another language.
I have thought about printing all the components at 50%, like a smaller version, and see if I could take that.
You're just weird. Come on.
No, another thing I'd like to do is I'd like to just try play some cool, maybe if I get the opportunity, I'd like to try some cool games out there that I haven't heard of before and potentially pick some up that I haven't heard of without really looking into them, as long as there's an English rule book or PDF file that I can get into. I have been sent a few lists from different people who are like, go try this, try that. This is great. Can you get me this? Can you get me X? And that's completely fine. I've got my list. I will do you justice. If those games are around, I will pick those up. No problem. But yeah, that's what I'm going to try and do. Just try and learn a little bit about these kind of Japanese games that I don't really know a lot about. Even though I have experienced a few of them, I really don't have a vast knowledge of them. So yeah, that's my plan. Jules, let's go.
Yeah.
I love this. I'm so excited. Go.
So mine was to actually start playing KDM again, whether it's solo or a group. I haven't managed to get a group together. And I haven't managed to play it solo. Now, the reason is I've really found my painting groove again. I went through a bit of a slump, and I've been loving doing miniature painting. And I decided what I'm going to do. Kingdom Death Monster is not only an expensive game, but it's a game I really love. And the miniatures are incredible quality in that game. And I just didn't want to keep playing KDM with unpainted miniatures. And so what I've committed to, it's almost like I'm amending this oath in a way. What I'm going to do is I want to paint up my 4 starting survivors. I've already done 1. And I want to paint each monster or nemesis before I play each session as a way to get through all the miniatures. Now, obviously that will mean it's going to be quite a slow journey, but I want to paint each thing I face against before I actually play it. So I get through all the miniatures. I don't know how many years it'll take, but it seems very achievable for me. And honestly, part of the reason there's a struggle I have with miniature painting where I want to paint something to like the absolute best of my ability and for it to be almost like a competition piece. But I don't need to do that for Kingdom Death Monster, even though I feel like the miniatures deserve to be painted that well. But at the end of the day, they are game pieces, right? So I'm trying to do this so it forces myself to paint it to a level I'm really happy with, but not I'm spending 20 to 50 hours on just painting the white lion, right? And getting every single bit of fur painted on there. Just getting it to a point where I'm really happy with it so I can play the next session.
I have to say that I actually shared some of the painting. Like G-Money took some of them home. I did some. Because, you could spend hours and hours. And I did spend hours and hours on one of my pieces. And I'm not a great painter, but I really took a lot of time to do this one particular mini. It does look great. I'm really happy with it. But you're right. You do that at the you're like basically jeopardizing playing the game.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you spend, let's say, 20 hours painting each piece on average, like the bigger pieces.
Yes.
The big bosses, you've already got pretty much 120 hours.
Yeah.
In just that.
Yeah.
That could have been 120 hours playing the game.
It could have been,
and that experience of playing that game will outweigh the time you spent in doing the minis. If you cut the mini down into 60 hours and you had 60 hours of gameplay, it's a much more comfortable ratio.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I love miniature painting, so more painting time is not a problem for me. The problem is I've been putting off painting anything in KDM because I felt like it's such an awesome looking game. I want it to be painted to the absolute best ability I have, but that will take too long, and I really just don't like playing with the unpainted minis.
Yeah,
especially when I know I have the skill to make them look awesome. So I am going to still either start up my solo campaign again or get a group together, but I'm also going to be trying to make sure that I'm painting the miniatures I'm using beforehand each time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to do. But for a new Oath, it's been a while since we've had one where we've just roped in an unwilling participant. So that's what I'm going to do tonight. I went over to Mitch's place, as I said earlier in the episode, and played Windmill Valley. And he's bought a bunch of games recently. And one of those is Undaunted Battle for Britain, which is the airplane version, which is on a hex grid system rather than a square or rectangle system. I've really enjoyed all my players of Undaunted of both Stalingrad and Normandy, so I really want to play that. I'm going to play Mitch's copy.
Nice.
So that's what I'm going to do. Undaunted Battle of Britain with Mitch.
Sick. Sounds
he has
good.
no choice.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like he's going to be too worried.
I don't think so.
So he'll be fine. Dana, what about yourself?
I don't feel so bad anymore. You guys didn't even do your oaths.
Well, I sort of did. I did paint a KDM mini, even though that wasn't the oath, but I amended the oath, and so I have done something.
You can't just change it. Anyway, so my previous oath was to play all these 4 Portland Game Collective Kickstarter card games. I played 2 out of the 4.
Okay.
So
respectable.
I'm half points. So I will play the rest of them. I'm really looking forward to the other 2 games. Actually, one of them is Bridge City Poker, and it looks really good. But the other one is called Trick Takers, and I'll tell you what, I have to admit I'm a little bit daunted by it because the rule book looks kind of complicated, and actually I did watch a video and it said it's quite an intricate game. So anyway, I'll play that too. But I've just amended what I was going to say. I am having my first painting session on the 23rd of June.
Oh.
And I have never painted anything in my life. I don't even have any paints. But anyway, I have
miniature painting or canvas painting? What are we talking about here?
No. Miniature painting.
Okay, all right, cool.
I am starting to paint my space bee out of apiary.
Yes.
That's my first one.
That's a nice, easy one to start with.
Yeah, so we're going to give it a go. So there's two ladies who've never painted before and one lady who's done a little bit of painting. So we're going to meet up, eat cheese. Of course, we'll have a cheese platter.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to paint. And so I'm going to paint my space bee. So that's my next idea.
I love it, Dana.
Space bee.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for that. That's 3 oaths. All half done, right?
More or less.
No. I got the half. You didn't get anything.
Oh, what? No. I think I got half. We'll go half. We'll say all we did. We all got half. That's all right. You round that up. It's a half. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. Thanks, Dana. Thanks, Jules.
Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And yeah, play more games. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. That should be
You good, Donna?
Yeah. Sorry.
Ready to roll?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was.
You were talking to yourself.
I was talking to myself. Sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Ready. Woohoo!
All right, Jules, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Donna, you don't have
Levels.
anything. You don't have anything written in the preamble, but
I do. I've written it in there.
Jules?
Nope. Ah, there it is.
It's there.
Oh yeah, you hadn't hit enter.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, mate. Way too high tech for me.